Direct from the Six, world-renowned, Canada's largest city, with Canada's biggest thinkers, visionaries, and hustlers. This is Startup Talk, featuring the founders, funders, innovators, and community leaders who've led Canada's startup ecosystem right here in Toronto. You'll hear the challenges, the failures, the successes. Toronto's Startup Podcast gives you the full story direct from the entrepreneurs and influencers who've made a difference. Now, the host of Startup Talk, the founder of TorontoStarts, the Startup Coach.
Got our friend here from Africa who wants to understand our take on this. Apparently, I'll take it off and I'll tell you, he's selling rechargeable TVs to serve areas at unstable power supply. However, these areas are mostly rural areas with low-income households. So, would you recommend making a product cheaper to meet demand at the expense of profitability, or should we make a higher price and prioritize profit?
It's a tough question to answer without really understanding the business.
Of course,
but maybe we can take it in two directions. One is, what is your goal? Is your goal to build a profitable, sustaining business, or is your goal to have impact and have some profit along the way? So if it's impact and have some profit along the way, you take a hit on your profit and you scale. If your goal is to build a highly profitable business, then you can figure out ways to reduce costs, and that's one route to go, or figure out ways to increase quality and only prioritize certain areas to go. But I think everything will depend on what you ultimately want to achieve. And you align, your own goals to whatever the business framework is that you want to apply.
Yeah, and just for my 2 cents, you're in the business to make money. So I look back and say, I would focus on profitability, focus on selling less TVs to make more money. And as you can then drive either a cheaper product or through manufacturing and demand, you can bring your cost down. Then you can start servicing a lower model version or the lower price areas. The problem is inventory stuff costs money, manufacturing costs money, and if you're carrying this stuff and you have low margins, you're very unlikely to succeed. So focus on profitability first so that you have a profitable line, even if it's a less number.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I'm a big fan of finding a niche, really, really small niche, a micro niche, if you will. Do really well there, exactly to your point. Because once you do really well, your options open up.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who want to offer things to the underserved areas and stuff. And I said, okay, that's great. But, maybe we want to sell into enterprises and get money from them. And once you're making that sale, you can do whatever you want. Like, you're in the business because now you have the money, you have the revenue, you have the time to serve these other industries that you're really looking forward to. Mm-hmm. It's just ways of looking at it depending on, the company and what they're doing. Hopefully that answers your question. Where do people go to find out more?
You can go to Investment Arc, but Arc is spelled with a K, so investmentark.net. That's my investment company. So if you're a startup and you need some assistance, that's where to find me. And then, of course, my newsletter, Decision Lab. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. Please don't hesitate to connect with me. And again, Craig will have a link to my LinkedIn profile as well.
Yeah, and all that'll be there. And I'll throw a link to the newsletter in the chat on LinkedIn. I see a couple of people asking it in an hour or so after the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you all for the great questions. And thank you for the great interview.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been Startup Talk, Toronto's startup podcast. For more exclusive content, the episode vault, and to be part of Toronto Starts community, visit TorontoStarts.com. Get your name on the newsletter mailing list and check out our upcoming events. For more episodes, subscribe now. And please recognize the time and work behind the scenes put into connecting you with the biggest visionaries, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Toronto by leaving a 5-star review. Join us for more next episode from Toronto's most active entrepreneur and startup community on Startup Talk.